That in the ridan bi qada'illah, in being satisfied with the decree of God at such a difficult moment, at such a trying moment in one's life, is indicative of the certainty in God's mercy, presence, and care in the Imam's life. And it's for that reason we can only understand that, again, through going very, very deeply into Islamic mysticism and religious mysticism in general. We look at someone like Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, the German mystic. He's quite amazing. He says the soul seeks the ground, continuing to search and take God in His oneness and His solitary wilderness, in His vast wasteland and in His own ground. Thus it remains satisfied with nothing else but keeping on, but continuing a search to discover just what is God in His divinity. What does this mean? That when someone falls in love with God, that they're mesmerized with the presence of God, that all that they are seeking to discover is the essence of that reality. Right? So if they're seeking to discover the essence of that reality, that is all that they want out of life. Everything else that occurs to them in their life comes and goes. But their objective is to discover that essence and that reality of God. Right? This is the spiritual state of the mystic, which Abu Abdullah, of course, is once again the absolute paragon of this state of being. And of course, when we go to the Holy Quran, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya yuhattaha النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية. Right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that God says in the Quran, O tranquil soul, return to me, satisfied with the decree of God in a very pleasing state towards me. Meaning, return to me in a state of love, in a state of happiness, in a state of tranquility and contentment. And there's a reason why the riwayat and the traditions, several traditions describe this Surah Al-Fajr as Surah Al-Husayn. That this verse absolutely encapsulates the state of being of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura. Right? That despite all of those wounds, he was in a state of absolute tranquility. Furthermore, interestingly enough, Raghib Isfahani in his Mufradat and Mustafawi in his Tahqiqat, these are various lexicographers of Quranic Arabic and classical Arabic poetry. They say that the word mu'min and amina, literally, its origin is in the word is in the word itmina, rather, meaning to be tranquil. That when someone believes in something, when someone is a mu'min zawad al-khawf, that they have no fear, that they're at peace with God. But literally, amana billah, that someone believes in God, means that they are at peace with God. That they're worshipping God, that they're existing in a tranquil state before God. So the word mu'min actually refers to the concept of itmina and contentment and tranquility. And of course, there's no better example for us here of a mu'min than Abu Abdullah in this case. Thus, the one who is content with God is mutma'in and a mu'min. Anyhow, that's a little Arabic lesson. Moving on. The last part of the statement is وَتَسْلِيمًا لِأَمْرِهِ. And he submitted completely and absolutely to the command of God. This is the last statement of the three, right? So the first one was Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The second one was Radan bi qada'illah, which is indicative of his pleasure with God. The first one is indicative of his sabr and his forbearance. And the third one is Tasliman li amri, which is his submission to God. Meaning, Imam al-Baqir is telling us that the final culmination of the saga of Ashura was the taslim. Was that he had accepted what had occurred and he fell into the arms of God. Tasliman li amri. Right? That he accepted God's decree and fell into the arms of God, so to speak. That he accepted to bear the burden He took the stand. When he took the stand, what had happened. وَتَسْلِيمًا لِأَمْرِهِ. And he succumbs and submits to this command of God. That is the command to be upholders of justice. Thus, we can manifest in these intellectual abstractions of belief in the oneness of God, of belief that God is everywhere, belief in an ultimate reality, the Brahma, whatever you may call it in various religious traditions. But its manifestation can only come when we reply to the kun qawamin bil qist. That is, be standard. Now be something. Now you believe something, be something now. And when we believe and be at the same time, inshallah, we have a sense of unity. Furthermore, the word aslama, Toshiko Zutsu describes in one of his books on God and man in the Quran, very interestingly, and I checked it in pre-Islamic poetry as well, is indicative of giving something up in the interest or in the way of submitting to something else. Aslama. That's what it literally means. We translate words like Islam and Taslim and Aslama as submitted, as becoming a Muslim, and so on and so forth. And yes, they have a variety, they have an array of meanings. But one of the meanings, the literal meaning of Aslama, literally means to give something up so that I may submit. And this is what the Jahil Arabs, or the pre-Islamic Arabs, could not do. They could not give up their desire to be the king of their castle. They could not give that up. They could not give up that desire. And that's what made Aslama very difficult for them. Because it requires them to give up their needs for comfort, their need for relaxation, their need for pleasure, for animalistic pleasure, in the name and process of submitting to a supreme being. And of course, once again, there's no better, I love the word paragon, there's no better paragon than Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura. There's no better example for us gathered here today to discuss than the aslama that Imam Hussein performed on the day of Ashura. Now I will conclude, inshallah, albeit it will be a bit of a long conclusion. I'm going to put the projector on now, inshallah. Perfect, okay.